A very big warm welcome to everyone joining us for the information session for the Trinity Buoy Wharf Drawing Prize 2025. I'm Anita Taylor and I'm on the Drawing Projects UK Zoom call. So I'm just introducing myself so you know who I am. And I've got Fiona Cassidy with me from Drawing Projects UK, who's going to be supporting the session. It's a live session and there'll be a presentation from me about the project and about the call for entries and the selectors, and then there'll be time for a Q&A. So we'd love you when we get going to put your questions in the chat and we'll scoop them all up at the end so you're able to ask any question you want to ask and we'll respond to it within the time frame. We should just run for an hour. But in the meantime, would you like to tell us where you're joining from in the chat? While we just wait for people to gather, we've got quite a large number booked this evening, and we know that quite frequently not everyone turns up, but we're anticipating a few more people than we've got in the room. So while we wait, that would be really great to see where you're joining from. So we've got someone joining from Toronto. Hello, Emily. Great to see you. And I'm sure we've got some people from elsewhere. We've got Charlie from West Yorkshire. Great to see you too. You might see an image of your drawing. Michaela from Switzerland, Emma from Manchester. So we've got already quite an international audience. Carolina from London, Seth from Sorrigan, Moses from Singapore via London. So that's all good. So we've got quite an international grouping, and we've got Helen from Brighton, and people from London. So do let us know. Guy from South London, Irene from Edinburgh, Jason from Scotland and Huntly. So it's great just to see where you're joining from. We will just give people a couple of more minutes. Hello, Sarah from Walthamstow in London. But we will just give people a couple of minutes so we can start as we go. But it's just great to really get a sense of where people are joining us from. So we've got Becky from Brighton. So we've got a little group from Brighton. I know that we've got some people from elsewhere across the world that we recognise from other sessions. So this is intended as a live information. It will tell you a little bit about the history of the project, and it will tell you about the process and why we do the process as we do it. And then it will also talk to what it's like from you. So great to see Ingeborg from Norway. We did see the inside of the car very briefly, but great to have you join us. We've got Mandy joining us from London, and a couple of other people who've just joined in the room. So Fiona will give me a sense. We've still got a few more, I think, that will come. So we'll just wait a couple of moments. It is a live meeting, so you can see everybody if you want to. We're on presenter view just so it's cleaner and smoother as we present. And it's just lovely to see everybody joining us this evening. So 2 more minutes, or a minute, and then we'll start. I think we can't see anybody else joining in the waiting room, but we're really looking forward to hearing what your questions are and hopefully giving you a sense of the process and where we go from there. So I think we should start. So can I say the warmest of welcomes? I'm Anita Taylor. I'm the founding director of the Drawing Prize project. And what you can see on screen is an image from the Trinity Buoy Wharf Drawing Prize 2024 installed at Trinity Buoy Wharf in London. The project has been led by me since 1994 and it aims to promote talent and excellence in contemporary drawing, and we do that in this project through an annual call for entries so that we can promote the discipline of drawing, present an exhibition of current drawing practice which is taken from an open call, and provide a forum so that people can gain knowledge, insights, understanding about drawing today and who is working in the discipline. For us, that's always been located. I'm the Dean of Duncan of Jordanston College of Art and Design at the moment, but we established the project within an art school back in Gloucestershire back in 1994, and it's travelled as a project wherever I've worked, but it's important as a learning program. The educational aspect of it is really important to all of us involved in this and our passion for drawing. It's a partnership. Um, well, let me go back to the beginning. At the first iteration, it was 94. It was the Rexel Derwent exhibition. It was funded by Rexel Derwent as an award in the first year. And we took a year out to gain sponsors and funders. So we had a number of charitable and private benefactors who supported the project until 2000, when it became known as the Jerwood Drawing Prize, which it was for 17 years, as they supported it significantly as an emerging discipline through their charitable arm. And then when the Jerwood funding came to a close, Trinity Buoy Wharf Trust became the principal funder with a grant annually, and the name changed to reflect the scale of that funding. So it's an open exhibition, which is selected by an annually appointed panel of experts in drawing. And our project, the main exhibition award is, and the works for the show are chosen on the basis of the works alone, which is really important because it's about people seeing the works in the real and responding to all the qualities of the drawing in the real, whether it's its scale, its touch, its surface, and all of the things that drawing imbues. So the project results in an exhibition at Trinity Buoy Wharf. This is the chain store at Trinity Buoy Wharf. It's a cultural quarter in London, which is based on, it has the last lighthouse in London, and that's what you can see there, which is where Long Player is located. And there are two spaces, chain store where we do the launch, and it's mirror space where we host the exhibition. So the outline is that we do the call for entries now. So the closing dates I'll talk about in a moment. We select an exhibition and the awards, and we announce those on the 8th of October at Trinity Buoy Wharf in London. We support that with a publication, which you can see on the desk there, on the table outside, education pack and education program. And there will also be a symposium again this year, as there was last year, the day after the opening. The exhibition has awards. They're really there to celebrate the drawings that stand out in the different categories for the selection panel. And it has the largest prize fund for an open exhibition dedicated to drawing, probably at all. And so there's a first prize, a second prize, and a student award, which are decided by the main selection panel for the main award. This year, we offer a biennial award, which is the Evelyn Williams Drawing Award, supported by the Evelyn Williams Trust, which is a cash award of £10,000, which supports the development of an exhibition for a solo show at Hastings Contemporary on the south coast of England. Not immediately after you've made some work, supported by the bursary that's given, and a working drawing award, which is given in the separate category of £2,000. All shown at the same time and launched at the same time. There are two calls for entries. So the main award is open until the 17th of June. I'll talk you through the process in a minute. And the working drawing award is open until the 17th of July. They have different entry processes that do slightly different things. And I wanted to put in here some images of the 2024 exhibition, just to show you the diversity and the range and scale of works that are submitted for the exhibition. And some are framed, some are not framed, some are floor pieces, some are hanging pieces, some are works in temporal media, some are in books, some are quite conventional works, and often they're testing the boundaries within the field and framework that they're working within. So how do we select the work? We have expert selection panels. They always include an artist, and they include museum directors, curators, collectors, as a range from the last wee while. The panel on the left is Laura Hotman, who is director of the Centre for Drawing in New York. Barbara Walker, who's an artist and an alum of the exhibition, Dennis Scholl, who is a filmmaker, collector, and also an artist. On the left, see in the middle, we've had Michael Craig Martin, the artist, here with Kate Brindley, who was then the director of Arnolfini, and Charlotte Mullins as a writer and critic. And then on the right, you can see the panel from last year, Jennifer Scott from Dulwich Picture Gallery, Gary Sangster, who's a freelance curator with drawing projects and a very experienced museum director, and Mary Evans, who's director of the Slade School of Fine Art. So the panel changes every year. You can see them here in the middle one at Wimbledon, where we used to do the selection, and the two either side at Trinity Buoy Wharf with the work set out for them to see. And these are all taken during the latter stages of the process so that we don't share work that doesn't get through that process. The selection panel this year for the main exhibition and awards comprises Fiona Bradley, who is very distinguished director of the Fruit Market Gallery in Edinburgh. She's a very distinguished curator. She's presented and shows of many significant international artists, many who do have a relationship to drawing. She's also been the selector for the Hamlin Award and the Turner Prize. So she brings a great deal of expertise to the panel. Our other museum person here is Kieran Long, who's a museum director. He's currently director of Amos Rex in Helsinki, which is a new museum for contemporary art. Kieran is also a writer, curator, and has been a journalist and has worked with design museums and architecture collections as well as contemporary art. So we're delighted to welcome Kieran Long. And our artist this year is another alum from the exhibition. Sohaila Sohamvari is a British Iranian artist based in England. And she is the artist selector this year. She recently had a big award-winning show at the Barbican. She's also shown in Helsinki in a completely different place and quite fortuitously or coincidentally. But Sohaila is the artist representative on the panel. Our panel come together, I'm just going to say this, they come together, the decisions are all theirs. Our process and my process is to convene the panels. So I curate like the people who will select the work and work with them to facilitate them to look at the drawings that they will choose and to do that together as a discursive act. Excuse me. So in order to do that, we manage the entries through an entry portal. And for the main award, all you need to do for your registration by the 17th of June by 5 o'clock British Standard Summertime is to register your name, the number of works. You've registered the titles and medium and size ideally. And there is time to update it afterwards, but the reason you're entering this information is so that we can manage the logistics of bringing that work in order to gather it together in London. So the panel will meet there and see all of the work together. So that entry portal is managed by Parker Harris. And you can see from this screenshot that there's information about the exhibition and the project. There are rules and guidelines, which largely are around practicality of things. There are frequently asked questions there, which capture most things, probably not all, because you'll have some more at the end of this presentation. And there are links there which will give you information about collection centres and how to submit work internationally. There's also a contact and a guide for the international submission. So it's a very straightforward process, hopefully, but that contact detail is important in case you do have things that you want to ask of Parker Harris, who acts as the project manager for the project. The process for submitting and selecting is that you can submit 3 drawings. They're registered on the online portal. There is a fee to do that, and it's a diminishing fee which is managed around the cost of administering this element of the project and bringing all the work together. So there's a standard entry fee and there's a student discounted entry fee for those on registered accredited programs where you've got a student number, because you need the student number to confirm the submission. So there's an entry fee to pay in order to register, and then once you've registered, all of the work is delivered to a collection centre across the UK on specified dates in June and July, and that collection centre link is a downloadable PDF on the entry portal. All of the works are seen anonymously in the reel, and they're selected solely on images alone or the works alone, without reference to the maker, what it's about, titles, all of those things. We hope that you've got that metadata on the back, because occasionally we need to refer to it. But the aim is to choose drawings that speak to the panel as drawings and speak to them as drawings they want to include in their exhibition. So it all comes together to go through that process, and then we let everybody know by the 11th of July the outcome of their entries, and the space between this all being done and the exhibition allows us to put together a publication when we will come back to you to ask for further information, a statement about the drawing, any information or inquiries we have. Meanwhile, we'll document all the work and produce the publication and plans for the exhibition. In order to get your work to us in London, we've built spine of collection centres across the UK. It is operated out of the UK. All of the international entries will come in to Dundee, because we're an educational institution and it's very straightforward for that work to be submitted. And what you must do is follow the guidance for sending the work on consignment so that you're not liable for import and export as far as possible. But the guidance is all on the entry portal for you to follow. It needs to arrive in Dundee. It's a little harder to make that an exact date, so we've got a wider collection point as long as it's arrived in time to go on the consignment down to London. That's all that needs to happen. So it can be sent almost the minute you've made your decision to submit and have registered, because you'll get a registration number to come with it. So we've built this on the basis, as we have always done, that we practice groupage. So the works come together and then they're brought down, and that means that shipping companies are doing groups of these in order to get them to London, which is the big dot down there. But the centres are in Belfast, so it's important for us that we reach the scope of the UK and have the international submission. But the Scottish Collection Centre is in Dundee, the Northern Irish Collection Centre is in Belfast, and then we have centres in Sunderland, Sheffield and Leeds. In Wales, we have Aberystwyth. In the southwest, we've got Bristol at the University of West of England. I think there's one further down in Falmouth that I can't quite see, but you can. And then there are two in London, one on the west in Wimbledon, and one at Trinity Buoy Wharf itself, as well as a collection centre in Norwich. So that's the sense of the geographic element. People do gather together to get their works to those centres, and we would encourage that as a sustainable way of submitting. So that's the process, that's the opportunity. The additional opportunity this year, it's every other year for the Evelyn Williams Drawing Award, which is selected from what is already selected for the show. So to be eligible for the Evelyn Williams Award, you need to have a drawing or drawing selected by the main panel, and then everybody who's eligible for this, which is for somebody with a track record. So we don't invite student submissions. Students are eligible for the first and second prize, but for this award, we're looking for, in partnership with our partner delivery gallery, for somebody with mid-career, a track record is more the appropriate way to say it. But we will invite everyone to let us know what their track record is, to make a proposal for an exhibition. for which we will also ask for additional images. And that all comes in after the selection process, ready for that panel to meet, which is comprised of the director or curator of the gallery, Hastings Contemporary in this instance, and Evelyn Williams, trustee, and myself as the director of drawing projects. We then select an award winner. We work with the award winner to build towards their show, which is realised somewhere between 18 months and 2 years later. So Barbara Walker, who you saw on the previous slides as a selector, who's now been awarded an MBE, she's the Royal Academician, was our first Evelyn Williams Drawing Award winner when we were the Sherwood Drawing Prize and Hastings was the Sherwood Gallery. And we presented her exhibition Vanishing Point, some of which has been recently in her retrospective touring in the UK. Then we have Penny McCarthy, Roland Hicks, Isabel Rock. You can see from Barbara's images, it was 2 years after winning. Isabel Rock is the latest award winner, and her show will open in October at Hastings Contemporary. So it's about managing the demand of the project that's proposed and managing the needs within the gallery programme to time that. But it's an enormously exciting opportunity in addition to what are already very good awards. There are two strands. We set out the first part of the exhibition to ask the question, what's drawing today? Who's drawing? What do we call a drawing? What do people who come together think of as a value in current drawing practice related to what's presented to them? That's the whole hypothesis of this exhibition. It's a dialogue around drawing through drawing for people who are interested in drawing. The Working Drawing Award is a project that came to us, the new partner for funding, has a very big passion for drawing. I speak very eloquently about it, but I also have a very big interest in the role of drawing in ideation, communication, design processes. So drawing is a working tool for other processes. So often, a proposition for someone else to make from, but the role of drawing as a communication tool and planning process is really critical. So within the drawing prize, we have the separate call, and we've changed the date for submission to make it clear it's separate. And we also have a very different selection process for it. So it aims to promote the role of working drawings within architecture, design, making, planning, and ideation. We've added this year a size limit for this. The size limit for the other one is nothing more than 2.5 in meters in 2 dimensions. It can be on any medium, it can be other things. But this year, because we're trying to focus in on how we can work with people to promote the role of drawing and to think about the real world application of drawing in this context, we've made the decision that we will have a size limit and that it should ideally be on paper. We're always open to people challenging that, but this is the aim, to make a show that's very concise, talks comparatively about the role of working drawing. And we set the size limit and the idea that it was on paper because actually this is primarily how working drawings are used in the professions, primarily. So it has a separate process. It has a later submission date, and this one, because quite often now in communication through drawings in these areas, it might be communicated digitally, even though it might be hand drawn, it's shared in that way. And so this is actually an online registration with an upload of images of the drawing. And the panel will select the works for this special display within the overall exhibition and the award. Well, they'll select the works for the special display from the online submission. They come together in October in order to make a decision about the award-winning drawing together from the real thing. So this has a separate portal, has a separate deadline, so it's a month after the other one, and it has a separate panel, but it does have, I don't know what's happened to my text on this, something rather odd. That's very weird because it was fine before we started, so let's see what happens. I can talk you through. We do have a consistent panel member this year because we quite often get drawings entered for both. That's okay, and they can be. But what we wanted to do in terms of the dissemination around this was to know that somebody had working drawings in their mind in both submission processes. On the left, so Kieran Long, as director of Amos Rex and the former director of ArcDes in Sweden, is sitting as the common denominator on these panels, and it's the first time we've done this. So it's very much thinking about process. And then on the left on the screen, you've got Pablo Garcia, who's an associate professor at the School of Art Institute in Chicago. He's trained as a an architect. His expertise is in drawing technologies, and he actually has a whole project around drawing machines and other things. So really interesting person to work with us in the selection. And then on the right, we've got Sunand Prasad, who's past president of the Royal Institute of British Architects, and he's a partner in an architecture company in London. And I'm going to have my moment of, because it's not on my screen, of just double checking which company it is. But he's a senior partner principal with an architecture company. He's very passionate, very experienced about things. And I will convene this panel because unusually it doesn't have a mixed gender representation, but I will convene the panel but not take part in the selection process, but ensure equity of the work. So for this, again, 3 works can be entered. The drawings and the digital images need to be uploaded by 17th of July at 5 o'clock UK time. There's 1 entry fee, so that covers the administrative element of things, and there's again a student discount for it. They select the work from the online entries. They're all viewed like the other ones anonymously, selected on the basis of their merit and view of the panel. And then we let people know by the 25th of July quite quickly, because you'll need then to get, if your drawing is selected, to get it to London in order that we can then produce the publication and manage the exhibition needs. Again, it will be selected and announced on the 8th of October at Trinity Buoy Wharf. People have asked previously on this one, what about collaborative projects? Quite often you have design practices working together. We anticipate whatever reflects the professional use and development of drawings to be reflected in the submission, and just as there could be collaborative drawings in the main award, can be collaborative projects in the so you can see how it's set out. Special display to the right in Trinity Buoy Wharf. So under the working drawing vinyls labelling are 3 of the working drawings that you can see to the left and beyond is the main exhibition. So we're thinking again about how we present this within the show, and what you have there are actually drawings all by artists, one by Ben Johnson, known for his very intricate hand drawings of architectural spaces, and a drawing for sculpture as well. So again, just to show you the range of work, it's just to give you an idea of the space. We create the exhibition space. It's not a permanent gallery at Trinity Buoy Wharf. But after Trinity Buoy Wharf, it then goes on tour to a range of galleries across the UK. Importantly, and we'll fly through these slides because I'm sure you've got lots of questions. What we do on what will be the 8th of October is bring together all of the artists are invited, as well as collectors, critics, writers, champions of drawing, funders, to the exhibition preview. So this is what it looks like in the gathering, and in this instance you can see a number of artists, some of whom are first-time exhibitors, some are people who work with the exhibition regularly. We create, if we've got things that we can perform that have come in through the submission, this is a performance by M. Lowram called 6 Feet Apart, definitely 6 feet. And this was presented in the chain store. So the show is in the boy store. In the chain store is where we prepare for the exhibition and announcements, we tend to project the moving image works for that evening in that space. And so we get to see them independently in a larger space. And these are the works from 2024. And then we gather everybody together for the announcement of the award. So you can see it's a busy, thriving, positive event. It's not an exclusive announcement like some of the awards. This is a genuine gather everyone together to hear the announcement live. No one's advised before. So there are speeches, there are awards, these are from different years. The panel, that's a working drawing panel from the previous year with Tanya Kovacs and Daniel McAuliffe and View, are there to celebrate and recognise the awards with you. Last year, we gathered everybody on stage with the selectors, and we actually had a full house of selectors for the Working Drawing Award and the main award, along with the award winners, which included a number of highly commended, as well as the first and second student Working Drawing Awards. Around it, we build a public program so that we're sharing and engaging as many people as possible with the drawings that are selected, the themes that might arise from that. So there might be online events. Occasionally, we have extra funding to make films. And many of these can be found on the Drawing Projects UK YouTube channel, where we upload anything that's filmed material for you. We create an education pack, which is free to download, and we've worked with Drawing is Free since lockdown when we got some additional funding to think about how we disseminate, and they've been hugely successful. So we create a pack every year based on what's in the show, and that's gathered together from the information we pulled together for the publication. Education events will include me giving talks, but it will also include some of the artists being invited to run workshops with various groups. So you've got Alyssa Alaluzwa, who was the first prize winner in that year, running a workshop for the local community in Newham, where Trinity Buoy Wharf is located in East London. Zoe Briggs running workshops on the right for educators, and a project run by Duncan of Jordenston around drawing for animation within the exhibition on the right. So we run symposia, I'll run through these, which are run on particular themes, thinking about the role of drawing and reflecting some of the selectors' presentations, some of the award-winning artists, some of the artists who've got things that connect to it. And that includes practical sessions as well as talking about drawing. We expect that drawing is engaging and it enables that to happen. So in terms of key links, Fiona, I believe, has already dropped into the chat the entry portal, so a separate one for the main Trinity Buoy Wharf Drawing Prize 2025, one for the Working Drawing Award. And if you want to follow on social media, the main social media actually is delivered through Drawing Projects UK, and that runs the Trinity Buoy Wharf Drawing Prize handle. But Parker Harris, as the project manager, are often posting things because they handle the call for entry specifically and manage logistics through into the next phase, delivering the exhibition and publication. But Trinity Buoy Wharf itself, as a cultural quarter, also delivers quite a lot of profile and clips. Trinity Buoy Wharf is really distinctive in that it's also the home for the Campaign for Drawing and the Big Draw, and also for the foundation programme in art and design, which is run by the King's Foundation. So it has workshops for ENO, has a school, has studios and workspaces. So it has a huge relevance to us. So it's been a very happy home for us to arrive at, and we're into our 8th year of funding with them. So again, opportunity to ask some questions. We thought we'd show you some further shots of the 2024 exhibition. And I'm very happy either to drop from the screen so that I can see you all and see the chat. But what I wanted to say is thanks for bearing with me in terms of a bit of history, a bit of process, but I'm sure a lot of information that you still want to have that we can follow up on through the questions. So shall I stop sharing and then you can come on screen? to see me and others.
No questions yet.
No questions? I'm sure there
No.
are some questions to come. So I'm sure that there are some, and thank you for putting in Perkins and Will for the company that Vinand works for. This is the moment where you can ask all the questions that you might want to ask. I mean, somebody asked on Instagram last week, are people from the TERPS correspondence course counted as students? It's not an accredited program. Part of the reason for the way that and doesn't have a registered student. So, and they actually say in their own frequently asked questions that no student discount applies because of that. So I'm using that as an example question and answer. We're anticipating seeing a registered, a student registration number so that we can also do some due diligence and check you're eligible for the student award. And the reason for that is simply that we were founded within education. A big mission has been about getting people drawing and raising the value of, or the valuing of, drawing within education. So for us, it really matters that people are part of thinking about drawing within those contexts. And I would say that actually we have had quite a significant impact in terms of drawing as a subject, as a field of inquiry, and that's something that people embrace through the schools programs as further education and higher education in the UK and beyond. And we'll, there's nothing to stop international students in the UK submitting, and we know that people will submit work from around the world. In terms of the FAQs and things that are not in frames, we ask largely that things are framed because that protects the drawings. And there is quite a significant amount of handling. It comes into wherever it arrives, be it London or Dundee, and it's handled by a team of experts. But your drawings do need to be robust enough for handling, and sometimes that's about the presentation and framing. Occasionally, we don't expect it to come from overseas in a glazed frame, but what we might do is then talk to you about it being framed if it needs it for the exhibition, because it tours from London to various venues until July. So if that makes sense, that also takes me to Sarah's question, which is if a drawing has specific installation requirements, we'd anticipate that that comes very clearly set out with the work itself, and that if it's a drawing that needs specific installation that's not about putting it on a wall, then we'd anticipate that the packaging is reusable and able to be easily opened and reused to support that. So you've seen some drawings already. You've seen the hanging tissue piece, which actually is quite robust tissue because it's made of the tissue that we cleanse faces or with. So it's got a robust infrastructure, but it's also changes slightly. It's tied with fish and mice. So there are all sorts of. We're not averse to having things unframed or handling them, but you just need to recognise there's a risk. And what we do ask is that you're very clear in the instructions around that. Occasionally, curatorially, we'll say actually we want the work, but maybe the way you've proposed it being installed won't work for a tour or for the venue it's going into, and we would negotiate that individually once it's selected. If the work is sculptural and needs assembly, the processes that we do, we're seeing all of the work submitted in a very short space of time. We do, Fiona's quite frequently our special handler for works that are non-conventional that come in, whether it's a roll of paper or something that needs to be constructed. Largely, we will make sure it's seen in a temporary way to give a good idea of the work, and then as it gets through to the final stages, then it will be put together as far as possible within that. But you've seen what the warehouse is like in terms of showing it. But please, if it is something, include a packing picture, so a picture of the work in its 3 dimensions installed together, instructions about how to put it together, and we really look forward to seeing the work. So yes, we don't choose anything that we haven't seen in full, and that's the purpose of bringing all the work together. So they will do that. The physical deadline is on the downloadable information. It's very slightly different for each collection centre because some of it's picked up by the same courier and they go all the way around the country. So they're picking up in different places. So there's a very slight difference around the drop-off points and the pickup points. Because we take it back to the collection centres if it's not selected, so that again, aiming to minimise the effort and everything that's involved in that. So if you go to the portal and download the PDF, it should give you all of the details about where to take things. If there's anything missing or you've got a question, email Parker Harris to get, and if you don't hear, keep pushing. Because they will be busy handling this and other submissions, but it's really important that they do respond to any queries that you have. Most of the drawings appear to be in black and white or monochrome. Not at all, actually. It comes in phases, and many of the works, it's probably just showing them in small scale on screen. If you can get hold of a catalogue from previous years, at the moment we don't have it uploaded online because it's still out in on tour, but I will endeavour to upload a couple of PDFs or links to them so that you can have an idea of that. It's a genuinely open call. Drawing can be made in any media, any colour, any shape, any form. Our constraints are only about the practicalities of handling, and there is a weight restriction on sculpture. That's the only thing, because we need to know that our handlers can handle it safely. So coloured drawings are quite a lot of coloured drawings in pastel in the show this year. I think perhaps they just didn't show in quite the same way. Performance work we anticipate will be shown in good documentation. As you've seen, we've performed an Emlo, and we've performed it more than once, a different one each year. And there will always be a question on the documentation about whether it's a drawing that's a documentation of a drawing, is it a drawing in its own right, and how important is it that we include those in the show. That's up to the panel making those decisions. We're not always able to perform things, because performance requires you being there quite frequently to do it, but we do try wherever possible to be able to do that. So I would suggest performance work is submitted with good documentation about the performance, but on an MP or file, MP4, whatever the moving image file is that it says in the frequently asked questions. If that answers your question, that's great. Charlie, you're asking about the diptych triptych entries. We ask that they're very clearly diptychs or triptychs if they're submitted. We've usually tried to suggest that in a single frame so that we don't get people saying it's a diptych or a triptych and entering 3 works when actually they're not a diptych or a triptych, but they're entering for 1, and that does happen. That would mean that it could only be selected as 3 things. If it's not genuinely a triptych or a diptych, then often that question comes forward. So it should be framed together. If it's not, please include the instructions about how it should be presented together. You'll have seen the Juliet Lost, which is 3 pieces with space behind it, which create the ground for the drawing. It's really about being very, very clear about why it's a diptych or a triptych, and how that's presented, and ensuring that that in its overall dimension doesn't exceed the size limits. I hope that answers that, Charlie. Very happy if you want to come back. And the list of the galleries where the work will be on show after the main event isn't fully published yet. What I can tell you in a moment is broadly where it's going. It will be going to the southwest of England over to the west. And then we always try and distribute across the UK as far as we can, but it's quite limiting for a 12-month tour. The current tour is has been to give you an example, has been to Falmouth, it's been to Salisbury, Falmouth, it's coming to Dundee, then it goes to Manchester before it finishes, and it will overlap with the next year. We're hoping that 25 will come in and start again so that we get there with that. But the tour is currently being finalised, because that's something that we finalise each year. I can share that. We'll update the website once we know where the tour venues actually are confirmed, but we tend to do it once we've confirmed the full tour rather than when we know where elements are, in case we need to negotiate around dates and timing and transport. But it will definitely tour in the UK, and it's definitely going to art galleries and museums. The photographic print of a site-specific ephemeral drawing be eligible? We're asking you to propose what represents the drawing. What we are looking for is drawings. Ephemeral drawings, if it's documentation that is about drawing, is drawing in the way that it represents itself, then yes. I mean, I don't know what the panel are going to choose or how they're going to respond to drawing. They're selected, so they've got deep understanding and knowledge of drawing and contemporary art. They will focus on that in different ways, as they do every year, and they're very hard to second guess as panels. So occasionally we'll have panels who say, I don't want an etching because it's not a unique drawing, it's not a unique image, and they saw drawing as a unique image. Other times people will be very happy to take documentation of work. So that's the call of the panel. It's also a call as how compelling the images are in terms of how they represent a drawing that's ephemeral, or whether is it better to make a proposal to make it. So I hope that's helpful, Helen. How many submissions do we usually receive? Because it's physical, there's a higher rate of what's coming into acceptance than many open submissions. We usually receive around 2,500 works. But because we're so committed, sometimes it's higher than that, sometimes up to 3.5. Sometimes it's very slightly lower, but largely around the 2,000 to 2,500 images. Seeing them in the reel allows things that might be quite quiet, gentle, modest, to find their way through the process because they're all seen together in the reel, and it does make an enormous difference. One of the things we've discovered through this is both how much more it means the panel can respond to the work, how we get a better sense of the way the drawings relate to each other, and actually reading things digitally isn't very clear because you have to have people who can judge what the scale of something looks like, and sometimes artists don't actually have the right size on the works that come in digitally, partly because the intention may have changed or it's been entered in millimeters rather than centimeters. There are all sorts of things that come in that are harder to manage online in terms of understanding and reading what's there. What we want to do is present the very best exhibition we can in terms of the way that drawing is represented. And drawing is notoriously difficult to photograph and notoriously difficult to judge through a screen. So we've tried both because through COVID, we did have a 2-stage and we did retain the 2-stage for international for a while. But what we found is quite a lot of the work that came in then didn't get through the 2nd stage because it was very, very different to the work as it appeared online. And when the other work came in, it didn't necessarily sit in the same way or the same quality. And we recognise then that we probably missed some things as well. How many are usually selected? With the show at the moment is 123 works touring the UK. That includes 20 something working drawings, so up to 100, somewhere between 70 and 100 for the main award, and depending on the submission for the working drawing, up to 20-25, but sometimes less, sometimes. So we don't set out with a formula for what the show will look like. What we know is we have an open, bare space that we can construct screens, construct space, design the exhibition to accommodate whatever the panel think are the drawings that should be represented in the show. And they need to agree largely. They'll all have their wild card drawings that they feel very passionately about. Maybe the others haven't yet seen it. And the thing that really becomes apparent as you work with the drawings is how drawings come into their own. They will see every work at the minimum once. Many works they'll see more than that because we keep managing the work to come out for them. And one of the things I haven't said is we don't walk work by as they used to do for the Royal Academy and do in the final stages or the Royal West of England or those very big or many of the selection processes. We set it out in the room and we take it all away and start again with a room of work. So the panel can walk through it individually. They can apprehend the work in the way that work apprehends you in the real world. And they can be drawn to things that they might have blinked and not seen. Seeing thousands of work on screen is a very different experience. I mean, I've been on both sides of selection panels. There is something very positive about this. It is a lot of effort, we understand that, and it's a big commitment to send work in physically, but the process itself is quite transformational. And bearing in mind that selection panels are seeing work that interests them, and they're seeing work that interests them that may or may not get through to the final exhibition, but they're quite often seeing things they might think of in another context. They may think of other elements of that. We've had selectors who bought work that didn't get in because it was something they particularly wanted to acquire. We've had works that are in somebody's back burner that appear, or the artist appears in other shows or other projects further down the line. So different opportunities open up from the process of taking the opportunity to submit work and get it out into the world. It allows artists and makers to test it, to know whether it's ready to go out in the world. That's a big part of exhibition making, and showing work is about testing it in a new environment. And even the process of submitting to an open call allows that evaluation, self-evaluation and self-criticality to take. So I'm probably speaking longer, but I can't see a new question. So I don't know if I've missed anything or if anyone has got any other questions they would like to ask at this point in time.
You got them all.
Got them all, caught them. Sure someone's got another one. So just really to be clear, we try and minimize the effort involved. We do recognize that there are various challenges for different places to submit work. And we try and minimize that and provide the support where we can. All of the work will come back to where it arrived, so that again hopefully minimises things. You do need to choose collection centres and delivery points at the point of registration, so that we can plan for that. All of the questions we ask are about logistics at this phase, because the quality of the exhibition comes through the quality of your work. It meets the quality of the selection panel and their discussion and dialogue about whether it's a drawing, whether it's a good drawing, whether it's a drawing they want to represent their selection. And they'll be taking some will approach this as a barometer of drawing. What kinds of work is being made, and there will be themes that arise in some shows. There'll be variety in those shows because there's a big variety of work that's submitted. So I don't know if anyone has any more questions or whether this has been helpful. Do let us know. But again, no question is a silly question. 5 drawings on separate pieces of paper, part of one work. You can submit it as one piece, but we need to be really clear it is one piece and how it will be installed. There's a piece in the show at the moment that's 5 pieces of drawn elements. It sits together. So again, it's making sure that you want it to be seen as 5 working drawings. And the work, if it's for the working drawing section, the 3 and the 1 charge for entering actually is about accommodating that you'd need to be able to upload that as a composite image as well as a detailed image. So I think if you have any questions on that, do go back to Parker Harris, but hopefully that makes sense of that. And I do think the most important thing about is it a diptych, is it a triptych, is actually could the work be seen in another way? How coherent is it in that way, shape or form? And it's important. All of the work has to be made in the January of the preceding year. So that's our requirement, and we do date check because occasionally works come in and get through the process, but then we discover they weren't made within that time frame. And the reason for the time frame is to make sure that the drawings are current. Largely, they won't be work that you've submitted to us before for this project. Work doesn't have to have never been shown, um, but it has to be made within that framework. So we don't have a never been seen before clause, but what we do have is a level of currency clause, which is a level of freshness out into the world. So it's if it's been entered for something else, doesn't mean it can't come to this. If it's been in a show, doesn't mean it can't be submitted, but it does need to be made within the 18-month period broadly that we set as the time frame. You've got me for one more question if you need one. 3 minutes to go on our session. They've been all really good questions, and I'm sure there are lots more. There is no such thing as a silly question. So feel free to ask them ideally through the email to Parker Harris. We do pick them up from time to time on social media, and we will answer them as far as we can. And if it's public, usually means other people have been thinking about that question too. Really, really hoping is the work sculpture needs assembly with a panel assembly. Yannicka, I think we answered that, which is you need to send good images of it assembled, good instructions about how to assemble it, and the team will put it together for the panel in a provisional way, usually. Depends what it is. We've had big iron drawing machines that clearly had to be put fully together. But it's really about making it clear what's being proposed as the drawing, as the piece for the panel, and our team are there to facilitate them looking at it. So we will do absolutely what's needed for them to be able to make their decision, present it within that. That's okay, Annika, that's all good. Just wasn't sure whether you missed the answer. So excuse me before I lose my voice, just to say a huge thank you for joining us. Very much looking forward to seeing the drawing. I have the privilege of seeing every drawing submitted, and I have done it every year apart from one, which was missed for unavoidable reasons, caught in transit between Australia and the UK. But I've seen thousands and thousands of drawings, and the passion for those. Don't forget, there are other people seeing work through this process also, who may provide other opportunities. But it's really brilliant to see the caliber, the nature, the quality of drawing that comes in through the project, through the open call. And unless you try, you don't know that it will get it will find its way through to do all sorts of things for you. And it's that moment of drawing being the most wonderful emissary for your intent, content, subject, skills and talent. So look forward to seeing all the drawings. Thank you.